All right, moving on to number 39. This is video 7. It says, write each polynomial in standard form. So what does standard form mean? It means in order from highest exponent down to smallest, and at the very end, you want your constant term without a variable. So, of course, we're going to start with the highest exponent term, the degree 6. So you have 9x to the 6th. After that, you have the x to the 5th. So plus x to the 5th. After that, the x to the 4th term. So you have 5x to the 4th, positive 5x to the 4th. And then moving on down to, there is no x to the thirds. There is no x squares. There is no x's. There's only a minus 3 as your constant. So that's your standard form 6th degree polynomial. Too easy. Solve the system of linear equations, number 40. The first thing we need to do is make sure that they're lined up. X is on top of x's, y is on top of y's, equal on top of equal, and number on top of number. So I guess this was a typo. This should have been lined up. It looks like this could have been all moved over to have the x's on top of x's, so this thing came out kind of messed up. Nevertheless, if you were to do linear combinations, if you combine the lines, the negative 9x with the positive 6x, if you combine those, do they cancel out? No. If you combine the negative 7y with the positive 7y, do those guys cancel out? Yes. So ladies and gentlemen, this system is ready to rock. It's ready to combine, cancel, and solve. So maybe I should line them up just so nobody gets confused. So there they are lined up. If I combine them, the y's cancel. So I'll end up with a negative 3x equals negative 28 plus 49. That's positive 21 left over. So my final step would be to divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3 cancels. X equals negative 7. And that's an answer. However, you need both answers, the x value and the y value. So you need to take that x value and plug it back in. So we're going to take this negative 7 and plug it back into the x spot on any equation. I'm going to go with the bottom one. So I really have 6 times x, but instead of times x, I want to put a times negative 7. Plus 7y equals 49. So 6 times negative 7, that will be negative 42 plus 7y equals 49. This is getting bad because I'm running out of space here. Let's say I add 42 to both sides, and I add 42 over here. So I'd get 7y equals 49 plus 42 is 91. So we have a 91 right here. Final step would be to divide by 7. And on a calculator, because I don't know off the top of my head, 91 divided by 7 is 13. So y equals 13. So your two answers are x equals negative 7, y equals 13. And I'll tell you this, on the multiple choice, they're probably going to give it to you as a coordinate because a coordinate is an x and a y value, negative 7, comma 13. That would be your answer for number 40. Number 41, write the equation of the axis of symmetry. You guys even remember what the axis of symmetry is? It's the vertical line passing right through the vertex of your parabola, right? So that's just a review of vocabulary. What's the axis of symmetry? It's the vertical line passing right through the vertex of your parabola. So this is a standard form. I wish it were vertex form. It would be so easy if it were vertex, but it's standard form. So in order for me to identify my vertex, I need to actually find the vertex using the formula. How do you find the vertex? You're going to use the formula x equals negative b over 2 times a. So you're really going to use negative parenthesis over 2 times parenthesis. And of course, you need to identify your a value of 4, your b value of 8, your c value you don't even really need to know for this formula. So the b value is 8, and the a value is 4. So you really end up with negative 8 over positive 8, which is really negative 1. So what did we just find? We found the x value of our vertex. So if I were trying to graph this thing, first thing to do is to find the vertex, and so far we found the negative 1 for the x. How do I find the y value? you plug it back in, right? And you solve it. But ladies and gentlemen, they're not asking for the vertex. They're asking for the axis of symmetry. And guess what? The axis of symmetry is simply the equation x equals the x-axis of your vertex. So all I got to do is say the equation x equals and the x value of my vertex. So what's the x value of my vertex? -1. That's it. This is it. That's my answer. What's the axis of symmetry? It's x equals -1. Now, of course, if they would have said what's the max value or the min value or what's the vertex, then yeah, I would have to take the -1, plug it in right there for x, take the -1, plug it in right there for x. So you'd have to plug them in both, work it all out, get the y value. That'd be the y value of your vertex, or the max or the min value. Actually, it'd be a min value because this one's opening up. So if they ask for the axis of symmetry, it's only the x value of your vertex. Number 42. This is obviously a little bit more challenging without an actual graph, but they're both in slope-intercept form. I hope you guys remember slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. So the b value is where you start. That's your y-intercept value. And the m tells you how much to rise and run from that point on the y-axis. Now keep in mind these are inequalities. So let's move this to the side. Let's do a little sketch here. There's our xy plane. So this guy crosses at 10, right? The b value is 10. So let's put a dot at 10. Let's just say 10's right there, okay? And now from that point, I'm going to go according to my slope. And what's my slope on this first one? The slope is 1 over 1. Actually, I probably should have done that in blue. So the slope is 1 over 1. So from that red dot that's at 10, I want to go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So we get this line, but first I want to do it up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1 like that. And you could even go backwards with that pattern like this, right? I know that's ugly, sorry. But is this going to be a solid line or a dotted line? Solid, because it has a solid line underneath the inequality. So I'm going to draw this with the solid line going right through it like that. You guys cool? All right, now we also need to shade in because it's an inequality, which means that our answers are going to be on a certain area. They're either going to be up here above the line or down here below the line. So the easiest thing to do is to test a point. The easiest point to test is 0, 0. So if I plug in 0, 0 into the original, 0 for x, 0 for y, it's going to say 0 is less than or equal to 0 plus 10. Is 0 less than 10? Yes, absolutely. So the answers so far are going to be on this side. Let me see. On this side of the red line. Does that make sense? Okay, now we need to kind of ignore that first graph and go to the second one. So the second one down here crosses at +2 and it goes up 6 over 1. Okay, so if this was 10, it crossed at 10, 2 is going to be right here, very close to the origin. So let me do this other one in blue. Right there, there's a value 2. And if you go up 6 over 1, up 6 over 1, it's going to be right there. It's pretty steep, going up 6 over 1. And this one does not have a solid line underneath it, so it's going to be a dotted line going right through those points. Actually, let me make it in red. So right through this one, going up 6 over 1, it's going to be a dotted line going right through those. Now, the origin, 0, 0, is clearly on this side of it. I mean, it doesn't pass through 0, 0. The 0, 0 is on this side of it. So let's test 0, 0 on that bottom inequality. So if I plug in a 0 for y and a 0 for x, it'll say 0 is greater than 2, and that is false. So right here, the 0, 0, it's on this side, so it did not work. So none of these on this side are going to work. On the other side is where it's going to work. Does that make sense? So when I shade, well, let me do this. When I highlight this side from the red dotted line, that's what I get. So what we really want to shade in is the double overlap piece, right? The double overlap piece. So that would be this triangle in here. This is the final answer. Okay, it's important to when you're looking at your multiple choice answers, it's important to recognize that this one has to be solid, this one has to be dotted, and obviously the shade is just like pizza slice right here, this triangle. And it's going to have different shades, some shades up here, some down here, but the overlap pieces right here, this is your answer. So that's how you identify your multiple choice answer on that one. Moving on, number 43, graph the function. What kind, is this going to be a line or is this going to be a parabola? What's it going to be? Parabola. That's right, because it's a quadratic equation in standard form. So if you wanted to graph it, what's the first thing? What's the most important point? The vertex. That's right, the vertex. Now, how do you find the vertex of a standard form quadratic trinomial equation? I guess I need to keep saying x equals negative b over 2a. Correct. Man, you are a smart person. X equals negative b over 2 times a. So, of course, we're going to use parentheses instead of b and a. And we're going to identify our a value is 1, our b value is 5, our c value, who cares, it's not even in this formula. Anyways, we're going to plug in 5 for b, and we're going to plug in the a value of 1. So this is going to get a little ugly, guys. We have negative 5 up on top and 2 on the bottom. So that x value is really going to be, what's 5 divided by 2? It's 2.5. $5 divided in half is $2.50. So your x value is negative 2.5. That's ugly. Let me rewrite that. Negative 2.5. And of course, if you want your y value, which you do need your y value, and you don't be scared with that decimal, you could use calculators. So let's rewrite this equation over here. I'm going to rewrite it, but with parentheses instead of x's. And of course, I'm going to be plugging in a negative 2.5 in there. And of course, I'm going to work this out with the calculator. So if I go negative 2.5 squared, I'll get 6.25 and positive. So I have 6.25 positive. And then if I go 5 times negative 2.5 on a calculator, I'll get negative 12.5. So I'm going to have a minus 12.5. And then, of course, take away 3 at the very end. So let me do this work on a calculator. And I will get negative 9.25. Negative 9.25. So that is our y value of our vertex. So let me plug in the negative 9.25 right in here. So with that said, you will be able to identify which of the 4 graphs provided to you has the vertex at negative 2.5 and almost 10. So just for a quick sketch, if you did have the xy plane, negative 2.5 and almost 10 is going to be way up here. And then from there, you recognize that the a value is 1. So it's going to be opening up with the pattern of up over 1, up 1, and then 2, 4, and then 3, 9. So it's going to be a regular U-shaped curve opening up. You'll be able to identify that just with the vertex, knowing that it opens up, knowing the pattern 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9 from the given 4 graphs on your multiple choice test. You guys get it? Okay, number 44. They want us to graph that one also. You could view this as standard form or vertex form. Which one do you guys want to view it as on number 44? Vertex. I love vertex form. Remember, vertex form has the parentheses around the x, and the h value is inside with the x, but you have to think opposite. So what does that mean that the h value is on number 44? What's the h value? The h value is 0, right? If the h value is with x inside parentheses, that means that your vertex h value, which of course is the x value, is 0, okay? And what's your k value? The k value is the one that's being added or subtracted at the very end, and you take it for what it is, in this case, negative 6. So knowing that the vertex is at 0, negative 6, which is way down here, 0, negative 6, and knowing that the a value is what? What's the a value here? Positive 1. That means that you're going to go over 1, up 1, over 2, up 4, over 3, up 9, and you're going to get that regular U-shaped curve of 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9 pattern. So you'll be able to identify that one on the multiple choice. This last one, number 45, you need to rewrite in y equals mx plus b form. Subtract 3x, rewrite the whole thing. Identify your m value, which is negative 3 over 1, and your b value, which is 9. Go to a graph, put a dot at positive 9, which is going to be way up here. And then from that point, go down 3 over 1. It's going to be like that. and that would be your graph.